What's good, everybody? It's your man DL Saint. Man, I hope y'all are well out there. It is Wednesday, May 7th. Wednesday, May 7th. Um, yo, let's talk about this air traffic controller trauma leave. Everyone's been not everyone, but I've had folks hit me up, DM me, text me, like folks I haven't even spoken to in a long time because they know I'm a retired air traffic controller. Like, hey man, what's going on? What's this thing in Newark? Right, like Newark's always been a tough facility to fly in and out of, and I understand that they're having runway construction right now, so that's going to make things more difficult as well. But the issue that's in the news right now has nothing really to do with the tower at Newark. It's another facility in Philadelphia. That's where the problem for this issue lies. And we've been talking about the air traffic controller shortage and all that good stuff. Well, because there's an air traffic controller shortage at the hard to staff facilities, which are going to be your air traffic control centers and your TRACONs, the radar places, and then the busy towers, like the real busy towers, like Atlanta, O'Hara, LAX. Those are going to be the tough facilities to staff. So the people who are working there, they're pretty much all working mandatory overtime, right? They're working 6-day weeks. They're probably working 10-hour days because they just don't have the bodies. They don't have the air traffic controllers to handle the traffic load, right? So in Philadelphia has the TRACON that runs the traffic into Newark. And what happened was there was an equipment issue. And it seems to me, and I don't know anyone that works Philly TRACON or wherever it's called. I don't know anyone that works there. I mean, I'm sure if I made some phone calls, I could find out, but I'm just going to base it on my experience. What I believe happened was there was a nasty glitch that caused the radars to shut down and it caused the radios to shut down at the same time for about a minute, which in air traffic, that's an eternity. Like that's bad, right? Now, I've worked facilities where the radios have gone out, and I've worked facilities, and work sessions where the radar has gone out. But I've never worked when both happened at the same time. So, is that traumatic? Yeah, it's traumatic. But it's routine. There are redundancies in place for this. The pilots know what to do. There are procedures that the pilots have to train on for this. No radio procedures and stuff like that. It's no problem. Same with the air traffic controllers. There are procedures. The thing that struck me with this particular incident, it seems like the whole sector or area was affected at the same time. That's kind of crazy because normally you're working your radar, you're working your sector, you're doing your thing, and your radar goes down or your radios go down. You can just turn to the person sitting right next to you, the same person from your area, from your sector, tell them, hey, I just lost my radar, and you can jump up, and there are extra radars. So you can just unplug, jump up, go to another radar, set it up real quick, and I mean, you can get all that done in a matter of minutes, a couple minutes or less. But in the meantime, the controller sitting right next to you, who's also certified on your sector, can just take over. You're going to be right there in his ear or her ear saying, we need to turn this guy on to the approach. We need to ship that guy to tower. We need to take that hand off. We need to do this, do that, do that. That guy's at this speed. The other controller knows what needs to happen. So it seemed to me, because so many people took this leave, that it happened to the whole area at once. Crazy. Is it unheard of? I'm not going to say it's unheard of, but that's the first time I've heard of it. Right? So think of it like the whole area, the whole sector went out. Wow. For a minute, wow. But controllers know how to handle this type of situation. So the trauma leave, what's that? And people have been talking about it. It's a government program. If you go through an experience that's traumatic, you get time to recover. Not only do you get the 45 up to 45 days off, that you're gonna get paid your base pay, and that money doesn't even come from the FAA; it comes from another department. You get access to mental health professionals. Again, no cost to you. You don't have to use any of your leave. You don't have to use any of your time off. So it's basically 45 days of free leave, right? So were these controllers traumatized? Sure. Okay. Yeah. If you're gonna tell me you're traumatized behind something like that, man, you got a strong argument because that's a minute. Everything shuts down for a minute. You got airplanes everywhere. You might have been calling traffic trying to get, turn two airplanes away from each other. Who knows? And within a minute that can turn nasty. So yeah. But what I believe really is going on here, those controllers are burnt out and they're pissed off. They're sick of it. They're sick of it. The only time they get off work is their guaranteed holiday or their guaranteed vacation time, which is guaranteed by the contract, and or sick leave. That's the only way they can get out of work. They're sick of it. They want 45 days so they can just relax and chill. They're mad. They're pissed off. They're pissed off at management. They're probably mad at the union. Why? Because they've been working short forever. This air traffic control shortage didn't start yesterday, right? It didn't start a few weeks or a few months ago. This has been going on since the 1980s. This began in 1981. When Ronald Reagan fired the PATCO controllers, this is when it began. And now you have all these elected officials that walk around like, we had no idea what's going on. What's going on? That's all BS. I was in the agency for over 20 years. Every single year, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, that's our union, NACA, goes to DC multiple times a year to basically lobby Congress to get more money for systems, upgrades, for controllers. We need controllers, right? And always telling Congress what's going on with aviation. Every year, multiple times a year. They were just there. They were just there a few months ago. A buddy of mine, I was just happened to be looking at his Instagram feed. And he had pictures on the Capitol steps. They were there. I think they call it NACA in Washington now. We called it Lobby Week when we were in. So for the elected officials to sit here but, oh, we had no idea. That's not true. That's not true. And now it's like everything else. Let's just throw a bunch of money at this and we can fix this problem tomorrow. You can't. We didn't get into this situation overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight. It takes time to make air traffic controllers. It takes a long time to get the kind of controller you need, an experienced, squared away air traffic controller. You're looking at 10 years to get to that point. 10 years from day one in the academy until you have the experience needed to handle all kind of stuff, anything that may come your way, 10 years. Now, it doesn't take 10 years to make one controller. On average, it probably takes, anywhere from 1 year up to 5 years, depending on what facility that controller goes to and all that. And that's just training. And then once you get done training, now you can work by yourself. Now you can kind of work on your own with general supervision. That's where you really learn how this thing works. So yeah, 10 years to make the type of controllers that we need right now, to be able to identify bad procedures and policies, to be able to anticipate issues, to be able to have appropriate staffing when needed. 10 years. So, I don't care if they throw billions and billions of dollars at this, it's still going to take a long time to get out of it. So why did the controllers take the trauma leave? Like I said, man, they were upset. They were mad. We've had incidents where, they were horrible crashes and stuff like that. And the air traffic controllers involved would sign up and take their leave. Okay, you can get up to 45 days. And, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they'll be back after a couple of weeks. Why? Because they love what they do. Air traffic controllers love being air traffic controllers. They would be away from work and then they couldn't wait to get back to work. A lot of controllers just come in, the first thing they ask, what's going on? What's going on? ATC was their life. But there's a generational shift now. There are people who look at air traffic like, man, that's my job. And they're going to do it as such. It's just my job. Like, I was one of those controllers. I love being at work. I love doing what I did in the first half of my career. Second half of my career, I was ready to go. I was ready to go. And let's not forget the extreme mismanagement that's involved in the FAA, especially in air traffic. It's really mismanaged. A lot of people that were put in charge, they weren't the best and brightest. They got the position because all of the qualified controllers got fired by Ronald Reagan. So all those supervisors and all those controllers who would have been supervisors, gone. So the bar went from way high to almost non-existent. And those people got into the FAA, they got into management, they moved up. These were the guys who weren't that good at controlling airplanes. They just barely made it through training. They saw an opportunity to get away from the airplanes and become a supervisor or become some sort of manager, and that's what they did. And now they become the gatekeepers. I'm the gatekeeper. I'm the one that decides who gets to certify and who doesn't get to certify. I'm the guy who gets to make a training program. And they ran it into the ground. And NACA, the union, let them. They knew these people were incompetent. NACA was like, man, we're gonna get whatever we want. We're gonna get a better contract. We're gonna get better working conditions. We're gonna get better pay. Because these people over here screwed up. Whenever a controller gets in trouble, the managers are gonna do the paperwork wrong, so we're gonna be able to get them out of that through arbitration. So here we are. Now, is air traffic unsafe? No, it's still the safest form of travel. Hands down, the safest form of travel. But the controllers who are out there working this system are worked to the bone, and they need help. So I don't know where they're gonna get that help from. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is that incident when the systems went down. Radars went down and radios went down. Well, what's going on with that? Well, DOJ made it their business not to touch air traffic controllers. So air traffic controllers got a pass from DOJ. They're not going to fire any air traffic controllers. They want to, but they can't because of that horrific midair that occurred at DCA. They're not going to mess with air traffic controllers. But they will go after the people who are out here, the techs that maintain the systems. Now, air traffic control right now are running high-tech systems, like cutting-edge, state-of-the-art stuff that they just got, and they have to run it with systems from the 1960s. I'm not even joking. And the techs are so good at what they do that they've been able to make this thing work for so many years. But once those came in and started firing these guys, and then once the morale got low and the guys who were eligible to retired, all that experience and all the know-how on how to integrate these systems out the door. So I don't know. I'm thinking my theory is the tech guys who've been keeping the systems going are either retiring or getting dozed, getting cut. Right? And doing all this madness, they see all this craziness going on. They're like, you know what? The young guys like, I don't want to do this. I'm gonna go work somewhere else because radios are radios, tech is tech. They can go work somewhere else. And I think that's what's happening. So we're gonna see more of this as time moves forward, because the tech guys, the old school tech guys, aren't there to teach the new tech guys how to integrate these systems. So you're gonna continue to have these problems. That's my take on it, right? That's DL Saint's theory. That's what I think is happening. So it's still safe to fly. It's just gonna be slow, right? It's gonna be more delays. It's gonna be more cancellations. You know, there's gonna be more safety measures, you know, more spacing, additional safety measures put into place, because they don't want another incident like the one in DC where the Black Hawk ran into the regional jet. They don't want that. They don't. And you're going to continue to see, you know, air traffic control in the headlines, because the stuff that's being reported on now is everyday stuff. So the trauma leave, I think it's less trauma and more just dissatisfaction and low morale. If I was sitting in that sector and the radar went out and the radios went out, I'd do the same thing. I'll take 45 days, because you're working 10-hour days, 6 days a week. That's how much that's the legal max. You can't get time off here or there. Like, oh, can I get some time off? My daughter has a recital. Can I get some time off? My son has a softball game. They're like, nope, we're going to deny your leave. But, you know, if you can find somebody to work that shift, then we'll go ahead and switch them out or whatever. They put it on you. They don't want to work with you, and it sucks. And then they use these numbers that aren't hard numbers, because the unions like, give us hard numbers. If we're supposed to have 5 controllers here, Put it in writing. So when we have sys controllers here, that number sys controller can go. Management's like, no, we want the ability just to keep people around because we want to. Okay, I get the argument. I'm not mad. I don't mind having extra people there, but people are going to need time off. And if you can't rely on your managers to make a good decision on who to let go, when is it nice, when this is a good time to let people go, we can go down to that minimum number. You got managers who just don't want to make decisions because they thought something might happen. But then they'll turn around the next day and let the controller who they have a crush on, some girl or some guy, they'll let him go. And they'll say, well, I can go down to 5. But when it's me, you don't want to let me go. Well, that's BS. And that brings down morale. And that is how you get people, controllers, taking every opportunity they can to get time off. All right? I want to make sure I go to my daughter's recital or my son's soccer or baseball game. And guess what? A traumatic event just occurred. Well, I'm going to take 45 days off. That's going to guarantee that I get to go see those things with my kids, which might be 8 days away, right? And then on day 10, I'll come back to work. Maybe. Or maybe I'll take the whole 45. Maybe I just round up the family where I'll just go somewhere. So that's what's going on, guys. I don't see any remedy in sight. I don't care how much money Congress throws at the FAA. These problems are going to be here for a while. It takes time to make an air traffic controller, period. There's no getting around that. There's no expediting the process. I was telling a friend of mine, and I'll end with this. A friend of mine was saying, well, why don't you just, hurry up the process, or why don't you just bring this person from here and do this and do that? And my friend's a baker. I said, hey, you're a baker. You're a really good baker. How long is it going to take you to bake me a cake from scratch? Like, I forget how long they said, but let's say it was 2 hours. It's going to take me 2 hours from scratch. Got to mix everything up, get it ready, put it in the oven. 2 hours later, your cake can be ready. Okay. So I say, let's say I come to you and I'm like, I need that cake, right? You make it, you're doing everything. You put it in the oven. I'm like, okay, I need that cake in 10 minutes. What are you going to tell me, right? Can you make that cake in 10 minutes? No, it takes 2 hours, period, right? So when it comes to air traffic control, man, it takes 3 years to get you a CPC. Like, it's 3 years. That's what it takes. You can't rush it. You can't rush it, right? And it's another thing too in air traffic. Let's say you got 5 sectors that you got to certify on, or 5 positions in the tower you got to certify on, and you're done with 4. You get to the 5th one. Yo, if you can fail on that 5th position, if you don't make it, like if you, for whatever reason, you just can't do that 5th position, that's it. You're done at that facility. You got to move on. That's how it works. So all that time to get those 4 positions out the way, and you're doing great. You get to that last position and some manager washes you out. Maybe they don't like you. Maybe they don't like your father. Maybe they don't like your mom, right? Maybe you were sleeping with their wife, right? But you get to that 5th position, they can wash you out. Nothing really you can do about it. It's when the union comes in and have to try to work something out. Or sometimes you just can't do it. That 5th position, you just can't get that. You can't get that 5th sector, that 5th radar, that 5th position in the tower. You can't be there. This is what the FAA is facing. So, got any questions, concerns, comments? Let me know. Leave them below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Yeah, that's it. So, trauma leave. It's a real thing, but I don't believe those guys are traumatized. I believe those guys are pissed off. I believe those men and women just had an opportunity to get some time off, 45 days paid, and they took it. Some of them, they'll come back before the 45 days. Others will stay out the whole 45. So that's it. That's how it is. And guess what? Same thing happened to DCA when that big fireball happened. We saw it on TV. I told y'all, like, trust me, a bunch of those controllers ain't going to come back. Forget the 45 days. They ain't never going to come back. So you got that too. So, all right, we'll talk more about air traffic control as time goes on. In the meantime, we'll probably be getting back to talking about what's going on with the tariff war, what's going on with Trump. And, we're starting to hear stories now. These ships are coming over from China empty, or there's no ships at all, starting to affect the supply chain here in America. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. All right, I'm DL Saint. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.